The GT Cup Open Europe qualifying session is just making its way out onto the circuit being the Hungaroring, just outside Budapest, the capital city. A fabulous venue and a fabulous part of the world that we are in this weekend. The cars already heading out onto the circuit. And based on the year we've had so far, we have to suggest that Jan Larijsen is going to be the man to beat in the 54 car. You see him there just going through shot in the blue and red machine. And following is Dirk Schouten, who is very much a contender as well in the championship, along with co-driver Lucas Valkyrie. It's been a compelling season thus far, and certainly when Jan Larijsen has been here. He did miss a race at Paul Ricard, the second race of the weekend he wasn't present for, but when he has been here, he has been strong. There is a new contender this weekend in the AM class though, and we see them on screen now. Jean Font from Baporo Motorsport, a driver we can expect to be very competitive and challenge the driver who's currently had something of a stronghold over the AM class. That is John de Wilde. So some new faces in the paddock, some returning cars out there as well. The 007 Aston Martin GT4, driven by Julian Darris and Kareem, that's out there as well. And so there is an interloper. It was all Porsches at Spa. This time we've got an Aston Martin involved as well. And we'll see where that car places. But once again, it's going to be a matter of who can best Jan Larijsen, you want to suggest.
I think you're absolutely spot on, Adam. Absolutely right. Jan Larijsen certainly been the man to beat at this moment in time. Did catch up with Dirk Schouten a bit across the weekend. He's very, very excited about racing here, and certainly no stranger to putting in fast laps. And of course, his mission is going to be trying to battle against Jan Larijsen. But I know that his teammate Lucas Valkyrie said it himself that he's improving all the time. Oh, Larijsen! Oh, a bit of a spin heading around turn one. That's enough to upset you.
Definitely is, yeah. That was an uncharacteristic error there from Jan Larijsen. Of course, he's twinning this campaign with an effort in the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux in the same car. And in both championships, he is really very consistent and strong. So unusual to see him make an error, but he just took too much speed into the corner. Rear end was trying to go around the turn quicker than the front, and well, there was the end result. Thankfully, he didn't get discovered, let's say, by any of the other cars as he rejoined the track. But Jan Larijsen, the first flying lap already, one that has to go in the bin.
Yeah, not a good start, but nevertheless, still got 16, well over that, just under 17 minutes still to go here in qualifying. Early doors, folks, at home. So as we now watch the cars make their way through. Laurent van der Velde, we just saw in shot there as well, making his way through, of course. Big weekend across the board for many, many cars. Certainly John de Wilde coming into this weekend, looking to continue his winning run, and because he's won all 4 races so far in the AM category. And no doubt Q1 track racing will be keeping their eyes peeled to see whether he can do exactly the same again, as we now see them make their way down through towards the next ride. Dirk Schouten still there as well. You can just see in shot, a string of 3 cars making their way through with Jan Larijsen in behind as well. So across the board, we could be in for a thriller. We'll have to wait and see as they now make their way to commence their qualifying runs. Let's see if Jan Larijsen can correct the mistake on that previous out lap, and see if he can nestle in something onto the timing screens as they now make their way down this long straight. It can be quite tricky to one of these cars, Adam, because they get quite unstable at times, can't they? If you take it wrong, if you get it wrong, hit the curb, it can unsettle the car altogether.
Yeah, it really can, and a lot of these drivers in Porsche Cup cars, they will be adjusting the brake bias turn to turn. I know that that's often a very common practice in Porsche Carrera Cup competition, and I'm sure that we're doing it here in GT Cup Open Europe as well, but that can present a challenge as well. If you go one way or the other too far, you're going to end up either wildly understeering or indeed oversteering. Perhaps a bit too much rear brake bias was the issue there for Jan Larijsen at turn 1. One would suspect that could be a possibility. The current fastest lap of the session belongs to this man, Dirk Schouten. the 53 car that he shares with Lucas Valkyrie, currently fastest with a 1:53.751. I suspect that is going to be beaten. It's probably going to be beaten by himself if you look at the timing screens at the moment. And in fact, Jean Font has just gone quickest of anyone, a 1:50.810 on his first flying lap. Settle down. That's quite the first flyer for Jean Font. Immediately establishes himself at the top of the order.
Starters, he means to go on, Adam. That's all I can tell you. 1:50.810 to beat. Dirk Schutter, though, finding yet more pace. Well, he's still hit purple in the second sector, so still holding on to some good pace right now. Hungaroring in behind, you can see there as well in picture, as we're now watching the cars make their way through this next left. Now, what can Schutter do? He heads around this last bend. In fact, dives into the pit lane by the looks of it, and opting not to set a lap time at this point. Maybe just have a rethink, just jig a few things out in the and maybe go again with maybe a new fresh head. We'll have to wait and see. Jan Larijsen still out and about, though, I believe, on track. No, he's not. He's in too. So there you have it, folks. Already cars choosing to bail. So Font's still on top.
Yeah, two of the Q1 track racing cars deciding to revisit the pits. Linus Stern, but this Q1 entry, Laurent van der Velde stayed out and set a new personal best time for third fastest, a 1:52.736 for Laurent van der Velde. He'll be sharing this car with Nicolas van Dierendonck. Here's Jean Font once again on the pace, and a second purple already. Goodness me. Expect them to be in the high 140s, and that looks like we could be already getting there with Jean Font in the Baporo Motorsport entry. Here he comes now through the final corner. And the driver for Baporo making his series, or making his debut run of the year this weekend, is already establishing himself firmly, a 1:49.998, well, just about under the 1:50 barrier, but almost 2 seconds quicker than anyone else has gone. Stefano Zanini, second fastest at the moment, but setting a purple sector in split one. So Stefano Zanini for the Ingenio Pisani SP Racing crew, he is pressing on at the moment, and I think there might have been a bit of too much rear brake bias there, because the rear locked up almost immediately for Jean Font. That lap is probably not going to be quite as sweet then. Julian Darris goes second fastest, meanwhile, in the 007 Aston Martin Vantage GT4. So we await the time of Zanini, though, because he is pressing on. That 44 car looks to be on a roll at the moment, at least in the first sector split. Let's see what the second sector presents. It's a personal best, but he's lost quite a lot of time there in sector 2. Now runs through turn 12, does the number 44 car of Stefano Zanini. Interesting shallow run there into turn 13. Some drivers do favour a shallow line into the corner, run it wide and get a good run out, and that does appear to be exactly what Zanini's trying to establish and achieve there in the slightly older Porsche 991 Generation 2 Cup car. Across the line with a 1:50.994, just within a second of Jean Font, and just up into second.
Yeah, good lap just to get things underway. Julian Darris now reduced to third fastest. John de Wilder in fourth as well. Florentin Sescu in fifth, as we're now seeing Jean Font still out in front. Yeah, I think you might have caught something I didn't there, Adam.
That was Stefano Zanini doing some Budapest drift there. He was right on it coming out of turn 1. Absolutely lit the rears. I don't know if it's the quickest way through the corner, but it will get you into the highlight reel at the end of the session, so there's that.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's one way to make a name for yourself, certainly, isn't it? Watching Florentin Sescu making his way through in his Porsche 911 as he now makes his way through the next right. Behind as well, the man himself, Stefano Zanini, who topped out at second fastest. Ooh, okay.
That's turn 11 for the number 9 car, Fabio Fabiani. That's not a good place to lose it, frankly. Very lucky to avoid the Armco.
He was very, very close. It could have easily gone the other way. Certainly wouldn't have wanted to go the other way, because that's where the steel barrier is. So he did well to save it. Oh, another one. Interesting. We're seeing a few interesting lines now being taken by some of the drivers, but I have to tell you, it certainly just goes to show how much they're trying to push to the limits at this point. Stefano Zanini has gone fastest in the first sector, has lost it, though, in the second sector. So there you go, as we're now watching certainly the time here by Stefano Zanini now coming through, makes his way into the third sector himself. John de Wilder improving up to third fastest as well. He's just broken into the 9/10 realm. just in behind Jerome Font, but Shalva Walter now makes up second fastest himself, and he is just within 4.5 tenths of a second. So good move by Walter to move into second place. As we now watch the cars make their way down the long straight. Stefano Zanini will then tackle turn 1 yet again.
Critically, both Dirk Schouten and Jan Larijsen are back out onto the circuit and on flying laps. Those, of course, are 2 Pro-Am cars, and Dirk Schouten very much the pro of the Pro-Am outfit, the number 53 Q1 car, and Jan Larijsen is a solo driver, but he's put up to Pro-Am on the strengths of his performances. So that could be 2 drivers likely to challenge the sharp end of the order at the moment. Dirk Schouten's in the final sector right now, so we'll have to see what kind of time he can put in the 53 car. There is the 66. This is Shalva Walter, who is second fastest right now. Home venue for him, the Hungarian driver, and he's currently purple in the second sector split. He shares with Jean Bornagi. It's an all-Hungarian affair at GDL this weekend, and across the line comes Shalva Walter, and they'll be cheering in the grandstands because a 1:49.611 is set by Shalva Walter. But could Jan Larijsen immediately steal it away? Here comes Jan Larijsen, bit of oversteer in the mid-corner there for the number 54. Larijsen across the line. Will it be a lower time? No, a 49.745. Can't quite beat Shalva Walter. Home field advantage, perhaps?
Yeah, well, could well be. Dirk Schouten did manage to go 4th fastest. He's going to go again, I would firmly imagine. Like Jan Larijsen is certainly going to want to stay in second place. But great display from Shalva Walter. First place with a 1:49.611. Obviously, we've still got 8 minutes still to go in qualifying, but nevertheless, to be exceeding a 1/10 of a second on that of Jan Larijsen, who has been absolutely superb since the start of the season, certainly does make somewhat of a statement as we're now watching Dirk Schouten, who's gone purple in the first sector himself. He might fancy to try and steal this one as well as he heads through sector 2. And no fears of running just running too far across. I was about to say no fears of running too far. He ran too far. Incredible. Heading through this next right, and again sending it down through towards the next right-hander at turn 12. Bit of commentary curse there, but he has gone very fast in the second sector. Increased it to just over 6 tenths as well. Improvement. That's great. Certainly a great display from Dirk Schouten as he makes his way around turn 13. He'll have 14 to take as well, but he'll then cross the start-finish line to maybe usurp Shalva Walter at this point. By the looks of it, this very smooth sector 3 is certainly giving him very high prospects indeed. Up towards the line now, Dirk Schouten. Will he shoot for the stars? He certainly will. A 1:48.968 plants him on top spot. The sole 1:48 we're seeing right now.
There you go, 0.6 of a second up then on Shalva Walter's time. However, I thought I saw this in the live, and on the replay it confirms all 4 wheels across that white stripe. Now, we've seen times get deleted a few times because of that, so let's wait with bated breath for Dirk Schouten's time to stay up there. Let's keep an eye. Jan Larijsen has just gone second fastest with a 1:49.485, so Larijsen has improved. Solid lap time. For now, Dirk Schouten's lap stands. Let's see if it does long term, and improving again by, what, 100th of a second. The finest of margins, but Schouten presses on.
Yeah, I mean, if he can nestle this one, and he won't have to worry about the trap on the previous lap, so we'll have to wait and see. So Dirk Schouten pulling off an insurance policy here as he heads through this next right. And certainly here in the Q1 track car, you'll look to enlist yet another as he now comes through sector 2. This very treacherous part, you've got turn 6, 7 out of the chicane into 8 and 9. Again, you've got to be very active on the throttle to try and maintain the grip, not to mention twisting the steering wheel in all sorts of places. Lost a little bit of time, though, in the second sector. Jan Larijsen showing improvements in the first sector himself right now. So let's see what Dirk can do in the third sector as he now heads through this next left at turn 13. And then venture into turn 14, coming past the paddock on the right-hand side. Pit lane as well. Doesn't take the pit lane. He's going to stay out and about. Can he get another time on the board, this time to solidify his position up at the top end? Across the line he does go. No improvement in the third sector, though his time remains from earlier on.
Yes, so it does imply that Dirk Schouten's lap was just about deemed legal. Jan Larijsen currently on another lap, but looks like he's lost a lot of time in the middle sector. Wouldn't be surprised if he's just teeing himself up for a run on this lap, very wide out of the final corner. Laryson doesn't improve on that time. No surprise, a 1:49.6 relative to his best, a 1:49.485. Currently second fastest. I think we could expect some more potentially if we see him back out of the likes of Julian Darris, who was very competitive at Paul Ricard in the Aston Martin for the Street Art Racing team. Though it must be said, I think Ricard probably suits the Aston GT4 car more so than the Hungaroring, which is a bit more tight and twisty. Dirk Schuiten then already purple in the first sector, and so is this man Jan Laryson, and by a larger margin at that as well. Right then, let's see what goes on this lap. Dirk Schuiten will be heading towards the second sector split now, and that will give us a good impression of what that lap is going to look like. Here he comes towards the final three corners, George, and it looks like this might well solidify him further into that 1:48 bracket.
Yeah, could well do. Purple in the second sector, so he's managed to yet again show more and more improvements. Laryson, though, in that first sector was absolutely mammothizing. Certainly a 0.2 of a second difference based on his previous lap. Here comes Schuiten, though, around the final corner. What can he land here in the initial with just over 3.5 minutes still to go? Across the line now, Schuiten. He does improve. A good third sector as well, a 48.925, but Laryson has lost time in the second sector, so he will not knock Schuiten off his perch right now. A massive half a second and more for Dirk Schuiten.
Yeah, he was obviously wide as well at the exit of turn 12 with Jan Laryson, so let's see what this lap looks like. This one's unlikely to be an improvement or indeed a troubler for anybody. Still competitive though, a 49.7. Let's see though, it looks as though he's got maybe a 1:48 somewhere in the pocket. He just hasn't quite managed to add up all three sectors just yet. He's going to give it another go though. He's got 3 minutes, less than 2 minutes and 50 to play with.
Yeah, certainly does, and those 2 minutes and 50 are going to be vital, that's to say the least. And, you'd imagine that every car is going to look to go out and try and better their current positions. Of course, plenty of drivers out there, the likes of John de Wilder, of course, who's currently sat in the pit lane, 5th fastest right now. He's had a wonderful run in the AM category, as I alluded to earlier on, winner of all 4 races in the AM category too. Dirk Schuiten, of course, partnered up with Lucas Valkra. Again, it's a big confidence builder. The fact that the car is on top right now, and if they can be on top at the end of the session, Lucas Valkra, I'm sure, would be extra delighted with the performance here from Dirk Schuiten yet again. Jan Laryson, a very formidable contender, certainly shown his race pace in the past. Now we're watching that of the Q1 track car making its way through, showing some modest improvements, Jan Laryson, at this point, certainly in the first sector. We'll have to wait and see what he can do when he heads into the second sector. As we're now watching now, looks to be Dirk Schuiten coming into the pit lane. Obviously content, Adam, with that previous run of 48.925. He deems it to be safe.
And I think Jan Laryson, with 2 seconds off in the middle sector, he may well be heading pitward as well. But definitely, I think Dirk Schuiten confident in his convictions, and why shouldn't he be, with a 1:48.925 on the board at this stage in the session? Will anyone be able to best or match that? Here's Jean Font taking a slightly aggressive line through the 6 and 7 chicanes. I'm afraid that's well outside of the track limits, but it looked good on camera for the driver of the number 13 car, Jean Font. Will be trying to maybe improve on his 1:49.998. He was the first driver to break the 1:50 barrier, and he'd love to maybe try and get onto the front row, but he's running out of time to do so. And a good chunk of the fast drivers already into the pit lane, although we do have lap times ongoing for both Julian Darris and Stefano Zanini, who we'd both expect to be a little further up the order. So we'll see what they can do. Zanini just coming into turn 13 at the moment. So we'll get a look at his lap very shortly. Zanini in the 44 car. And just getting a look there at Fabio Fabiani, a bit further back in the number 9. The Gen 1 version of the Porsche 991 Cup car, currently down in 10th place. Zanini will be coming across the line shortly. Hasn't set a personal best in either sector. A 1:53, not a great time for Zanini, although he does have one last flying lap, as will the Aston Martin of Julian Darris. So even though it seems as though the Q1 Racing guys on the front row, and indeed Shalva Volta there in third place, have all decided that they've done enough, we could yet see a couple of improvements, although the Aston Martin has also just come into pit lane. So the checkered flag has waved, and it seems as though this order is largely set in stone, unless Stefano Zanini can put in a flyer at the very end here.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. Fabio Fabiani looking to improve too, but he's lost a lot of time in the middle sector. He comes across 6.5 back in the final sector, so he'll finish up in 10th place. Florentin Sescu still about as well, not to mention Laurent van der Velde, who will also be looking to make some improvements too. So he now crosses the line, and he will remain in 8th fastest. Stefano Zanini, who is looking, he's actually showing improvements in that first sector as well. In fact, currently sat in 7th. Now, big opportunity if he can get himself ahead of the likes of Julian Darris, who's currently sat in 6th, not to mention John de Wilder further up ahead too. He maybe even, you never know, maybe even trying to fight the likes of Juan Font by the end of his run, as we're now watching the cars come through more and more, crossing the checkered flag line. Florentin Sescu as well, Fabio Fabiani too, and Zanini, not quite a personal best in the second sector, but nevertheless a 41.591 at that point. In fact, 2 seconds away. We'll have to see what he's like in the third, I suppose. And, you know, he may as well go for it at this point, Adam, seeing as the clock is now struck 0.
Yeah, we'll see if this time works out as an improvement. It's going to be the last competitive time across the line by the looks of it. Zanini out of the final corner. Can he improve at all? Certainly not going to be a pole kind of time. Very wide at the last corner. It's a 1:51.768, which is not an improvement on his time. Looked like he was just struggling for turn-in there in the 44 car out of the SP Racing stable. So Dirk Schuiten, our pole sitter, in the 1:48, so 1:48.925, some half-second clear of Jan Larijsen in second place. Shalva Volta, the hometown hero, a Hungarian driver, third fastest. Jean Font there in 4th place. John de Wilder in 5th. He's got some competition in the AM class this weekend by the looks of it. Julian Darris in the sole Aston Martin there in 6th place. Stefano Zanini in the 44 is next in P7. Laurent van der Velde in the 52 car, 8th fastest. Florentin Sescu and Fabio Fabiani rolling out, rounding out the order. We now go to an interview.
We are getting used to see you here. Another pole, and this one was particularly close, huh?
Yeah, this one was a bit closer. I was struggling a bit. I was not really happy with the lap, but I couldn't get it all together. But still pole in the end, so yeah, really happy with that. And I actually drove 3 times the same lap time. I think a 49.0. Yeah, so that was quite funny, but I wanted to improve, but I couldn't, so first lap was good enough.
Was good enough. And how you see the race this afternoon?
I think we got a shot at victory. We have been really getting the car to the good, to have a good setup, and now Lucas is doing a really good job, so I think we can get on. So.
Good. And I've seen that you have a fun club here this time, so enjoy this afternoon.
Yes.
Goed gedaan.
There we go then, that's our pole sitter, Dirk Schuiten. A good result for him. He will be looking to capitalise on that one when we go racing in GT Cup Open Europe. The race for them begins at 5:30 local time here at the Hungaroring. Make sure you join us.